Last time when we left off with Elijah, a couple of weeks ago, he had been victorious. He'd had a huge victory at Mount Carmel. But now, as we are looking today at 1 Kings chapter 19, I'm going to tell you a Bible story from there. We're going to pick up where we left off, and we find Elijah in a cave. And something weird has happened. You'd think after a big victory like that, he'd want to celebrate or do a dance or spike the ball in the end zone or something. But that's not what happened. You see, Ahab saw what happened to the prophets of Baal. And, oh, by the way, I don't think I mentioned it in the last video. The 450 prophets of Baal, they got killed at the Wadi Kashan. So Elijah, who basically was responsible for all of the prophets of Baal getting killed, he fled because Ahab went and told Jezebel, his girlfriend, what Elijah had done and how all of Israel had put the prophets of Baal to death. So Jezebel made a vow she was going to kill Elijah. So anyway, Elijah ends up in this cave and he's depressed. He's really depressed. He's downtrodden. He's sitting alone in this cave and he kind of wants to die, and he's telling God, God, just kind of kill me now. Nobody likes me. The Israelites, they didn't follow me. I'm the last one of your prophets left. They've killed all the others and I'm the last guy left. Just go ahead and take me now. So he's hiding in this dark cave, just ready to go. He's depressed. He's alone. Have you ever felt depressed and alone? Yeah, I'm sure you have. I'm sure now during this time of quarantine, you might feel alone a lot. So, I'm making a little piece of art here. I'm going to show Elijah in this cave. We got some dirt and some grass, and Elijah's in this cave, hiding for his life, scared that he's not just going to die, that he's going to get killed. For Elijah, it'd be okay if Yahweh, ended his life, but he didn't want to get killed by Jezebel because she would not be nice about it. He wanted to just leave. He wanted God to just take care of him. So he finds this cave on Mount Sinai, the mountain of God. And he decides that it's here that he's going to confront God and tell God, I want you, just take me now, Lord. And so God decides he's going to have a little talk with Elijah. So Elijah hears the voice of God. The voice of God calls out to Elijah. Says to Elijah, Elijah, come out to the mouth of the cave. So that's the cue for Elijah to come out to the mouth of the cave. So if Elijah, please, could come out to the mouth of the cave. Now, there he is. Okay. So he stands at the mouth of the cave. There. And Elijah looks out the mouth of the cave, and he looks out at the world on the mountain of God at Mount Sinai. And he waits for God to show up, because he's betting on God showing up. And there's a great wind that comes along. Oh, I see that the hands have put a little pirate ship there to symbolize the wind. Okay. So the great wind comes along, but God is not in the wind, as it turns out. It was a strong wind, but God wasn't in the wind. And then there's a great earthquake. The earth shakes and shatters stuff, and the rocks were loose and everything, so the rocks came tumbling down. And Elijah thought, surely God is in this earthquake. And the rocks came crashing down. But God was not in the earthquake either. He wasn't in the wind, and he wasn't in the earthquake, so you can pick up those rocks now. Yep, yeah. Thank you. Pick them up. God said to Elijah, I'm going to come and show up, but he wasn't coming. He didn't show up in the wind. He didn't show up in the earthquake. So he said, but next thing you know, there's a great fire. And Elijah thought, well, surely God is in this fire. Big, blazing fire. And it burned with a ferocity, but God wasn't in the fire either. Nope, God wasn't in the fire. So, yeah, just get rid of that fire, please. Thank you. Yep. So God wasn't in the wind or the earthquake or the fire. And then the next thing you know, Elijah hears a whisper. A voice out of the silence. A voice comes over Elijah's shoulder, and it's God's voice, and it says to him,
"What are you doing here, Elijah?"
Now think about that for a minute. God says to him,
"What are you doing here, Elijah?"
Not what are you doing down there, or what are you doing over there, or what are you doing inside that cave, but what are you doing here? That means God has been there the whole time. It's his cave. It's his darkness. When Elijah thought he was alone in the cave and in his darkness and depression, God had been with him the whole time. Right there in the dark. And the same is true for you and me. When we're alone and when we think we're lonely and nobody loves us and nobody can possibly know what we're going through, God is right there with us all the time. It's one of the most profound truths of Scripture. God is with us.
"What are you doing here?"
When we're in the darkness, when you and I are in the darkness, we're in our dark places, and we feel alone and depressed, just remember, God's already there with you. And he might ask you,
"What are you doing here?"